Hello, we are watching our grandkids at their house, and I'm sitting in Camille's chair. Camille, say hi. Say hi. Hi. I'm sitting in her chair, and I don't fit very well, do I? This chair is not my size. In fact, this chair, I look like a giant sitting in that chair. They're watching Frozen. I'll let them do that. We'll walk over here so it won't be quite as noisy. In our passage today, we see some giants, and they are called the Anakim, but we'll get to that in a moment because we're in the book of Deuteronomy. We're in chapter 1, and as we begin, we find the children of Israel at Kadesh Barnea. It's now been 40 years since they were delivered from Egypt, 40 years since they went through the Red Sea, since the Exodus. They're on the edge of the promised land. Now, they should have entered the promised land 38 years earlier, but the people rebelled and they lacked faith. So now they're back, and the younger generation has grown up. And Moses wants to make sure that they learn from history. Before they enter the promised land, he wants to make sure that he reminds them of everything they've been through. And so in Deuteronomy chapter 1, we have a history lesson. And a lot of these stories we actually read when we were working our way through the book of Numbers. One of the stories that stands out is the story of the spies. The children of Israel, 40 years earlier, were on the edge of the promised land. And listen to what Moses says in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 21. He says, "See, the Lord your God has given you the land. Go up and take possession of it, just as the Lord your God has told you. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged." So the key words here are God has given it to you. If God has given it to you, all you have to do is go get it. But the people said, "Well, Moses, maybe we could send spies out ahead of time." You don't need to send out spies, not when God's given it to you. A modern day army would call it reconnaissance. But this is not just any army. This is the army of God, and God's already promised the land. But if you remember the story, when we read it in the book of Numbers, they sent out 12 spies, and when the spies returned, they said, "It is a good land. It flows with milk and honey. It is beautiful. In fact, here's some of the fruit." They brought back some of the fruit, and this talks about it. They could eat the fruit. But 10 of the spies said, the land is fortified. The cities have walls. And the people, it says the people are huge. And we were like grasshoppers in their sight. The Anakim live in the land. They were known as a race of giants, of giant people. That's why I started off in a tiny little chair. And so 10 of these 12 spies said, "Can't do it, we can't take it." But 2 of the spies, Joshua and Caleb, said, "By all means, we can take the land. God has given it to us. Let us go up." But as you know, in history, the children of Israel listened to the 10 who said no instead of Joshua and Caleb who said yes. And the result of that was God said, none of you age 20 and up are going to enter this land. And for the next 40 years, they wandered in the wilderness. You've heard of Joshua, you've heard of Caleb. Mamas named their children Joshua and Caleb today. Do you know any of the names of the 10 spies who said no? Do you know any of their names? They're listed in the book of Numbers. They're in the Bible. You don't know one of their names, do you? Because no one remembers those people. Today, if God has given you a promise, walk in faith, not fear. If God has said it is yours, trust Him, and He will always, always come through. Hope you have a great day in the Lord, church family. And remember to read the chapter before you listen to the video. If not, go read it right now.